Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to the latest episode of the Hard Compound Live. For those of you who haven't tuned in before, welcome. My name's Rich, and I run and operate the Hard Compound. We're a one-stop shop for all things motorsport, and we can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter primarily, and these videos can be found on YouTube as well. So search for the Hard Compound on any of those platforms. Come and give us a follow and join in the fun. We're here to share a love of motorsport. That's all. No controversies, no arguments, no nonsense that goes on across the internet. We are here just to enjoy motorsport. And we put out 3 written articles every day, usually. These go out at about 9 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 8 p.m. Here in the UK. And they take the form of race reviews, race previews, throwbacks, birthdays, favorite liveries, breaking news, and anything else that's going on in the motorsport world. And we cover everything from Formula One to IndyCar to the World Endurance Championship to touring cars to supercars and bikes and rallying and anything else that's going on in the world, as I say. So come along, join in the fun. We'd love to have you on board. In case you haven't noticed, we also do live video interviews just like this one. And just like this one, these are streamed on our Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channels only, saved in the video section on Facebook and in the live section on YouTube. We are rapidly approaching our 200th live interview, which is amazing. We've had some fantastic guests. I won't name them all. Just to give you an idea, though, we've spoken to people from across the motorsport spectrum, everyone from Mario Andretti to Jackie Ickx to Chip Ganassi to like Brian Redmond, Jackie Oliver. We've spoken to a lot of the British touring car grid and the support paddock. We've spoken to some touring car legends like Ivan Muller and Steve Soper, Gabriele Tarquini, the likes of Fabrizio Giovanardi. We've spoken with people who have won Le Mans and have raced in Formula One. People, people like Mr. Emanuele Pirro and David Brabham and Carl Wendling, and Mika Salo, Ukyo Katayama, Mark Blundell, etc., etc. And we've spoken to people who have raced in IndyCar and the Indy 500 and won the championship. Guys like Alan Jr. and Will Power and Alex Palou and Danny Sullivan, Ari Leyendijk, etc., etc. Which brings us nicely on to our guest this evening. He's raced. He is tested in Formula One and he's raced in IndyCar. He's won Rookie of the Year at the Indianapolis 500 before going on to be a team manager in Formula 2 and F3000 in his native Mexico. So without any further ado, we're going to bring him in. Would you please join me in extending a very warm welcome to Mr. Josele Garza?
Hello, Rich. Thank you very much. Always glad to be able to talk about motorsports, but seems I'm going to have to jog my memory because it's been many, many years since I was involved.
Well, we will do our best. We'll do our best to cover and try and remember what we can. But firstly, thank you very, very much for coming on and having a chat this evening.
You're welcome.
It's always great to have people from the motorsport world, past and present, on. And as I said off air, I actually remember you from back in '86 and the Brabham test back in Formula One. So it was great when your name popped up on LinkedIn. So I thought I'd ask the question.
Yeah,
So thanks.
a few laps in that Brabham here in Mexico City's track, and actually that track I had not driven because they changed the circuit. And that was my test for the super license. So,
oh wow!
I was quite nervous there because obviously I was driving the Brabham that was going to race the next day, so I couldn't really be too confident in risking the car. And also, I didn't really know the track, but I turned out all right. And that was a great car. That was a wonderful car. Lots of horsepower.
Yeah, fantastic. That was obviously the low line Brabham that we're all familiar with, and
yep.
definitely want to touch more on that later on, which would be great to hear about. Excuse me. Just want to say hello to some folks in the comment section. There's a good dozen of you tuning in. Thank you very much. It looks like the technology is working. If you have any questions or comments, do pop them in, and we'll try and work them in as we go, or just talk amongst yourselves if you like, or sit back and enjoy the chat, whatever you want to do. We're all here to talk about motorsport and enjoy ourselves. So here we are. Right, that's the housekeeping. That's the housekeeping done. Before we get into it, though, how's everything going in the last few months? That we've been in 2025. How's it all going?
Oh, the year's been good. I do a little bit of nothing to do with motorsports lately. I get involved very once in a while, not a lot, but I do follow the sport, of course. Pato Ward, Mexican driver, running very well at Indy. I've gone
Yes.
to the Indy 500 twice to watch him, and he almost won it 2 years ago. So
Mm.
that's been great. And also, I watch Formula One. So Lando Norris is doing very well, and we cheer for him a lot. My daughter, which is 14, is a number one fan. So,
All
so we
right. Okay.
cheer for him quite a bit. And things are good. My business is running well. Nothing to do with racing, but things are going well.
That's good to hear. We like to hear that, and we like to hear there's support. There's some support for Lando as well. Um,
Absolutely.
as Brits, we obviously want him to do well, but we do have to say Oscar Piastri is doing very, very well as well this year.
Well,
He's
well,
very impressive. Big up.
very, very young talent. I mean, he's going to go very far.
Yeah, I think the immediate future of McLaren's in good hands, isn't it? They're doing very,
Absolutely.
very well.
Yeah.
Mm.
Also in IndyCar with Pato Ward,
Yeah,
Of course, these two guys, they're never going to leave a seat for Pato to come over to Formula One, but
yeah,
that's just the way racing is.
yeah, exactly. I mean, and I'd quite like Pato just to stay in IndyCar for a bit because I think he deserves a championship. He deserves an Indy 500 win. So
I agree, totally agree. Yeah.
maybe another couple of years, and then maybe we can borrow him or something. We'll see. But no, that's good to hear that everything's going well. That's great to hear. So that's obviously what's going on in the present. But what I like to do is like start right at the very start with these chats because everyone's got their own story about how they got involved in motorsport. I mean, where did your interest in motorsport come from? Was it already in the family, or was it just something that you latched onto?
As far as I can remember, I liked race cars, and I wasn't exposed to it very much. But in those times, we used to buy posters that we hung in our rooms. Kids don't do that anymore. But
No, they don't, do they? It's all on the phone.
Yeah, it's all electronic now. But of course, Pedro Rodriguez and his brother Ricardo were the first two international Mexican drivers. Pedro won the 24 Hours of Le Mans and also a few of the Formula One races. Ricardo, unfortunately, was killed in a Formula One qualifying here in Mexico. So for me, that was those are my heroes. And of course, Jackie Stewart, Jackie Ickx, Mario Andretti. I had posters of all these great race names. Emerson Fittipaldi, absolutely. So I just had posters of them, and I never really dreamed that I could get involved because there was no Grand Prix in Mexico and no big time racing in Mexico.
Right.
But little by little, I started learning that this is something that normal people could do, or it wasn't that strange to do it. And I got involved in karting, like every decent top international driver. We all start in go-karting, and it starts first just as a hobby, and then I became more interested in it, and I was runner-up in two national championships down here in Mexico. So I thought maybe I can give it a go in something a little bit bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm always fascinated there. I mean, as you said, everyone starts as a hobby. I mean, obviously, everyone has dreams of getting to F1 and all that kind of a thing. I know I certainly did. It was never going to happen. But excuse me. When did you go? Do you remember when it kind of went from being a hobby to when you started thinking, I'm quite a competitive person, and I'd quite like to go and do a bit more with it. Do you remember how long that took?
Oh, absolutely. Because in Mexico, I looked into this, and it was very difficult. I mean, it was very elite. People didn't talk about it, and it took a lot of money, and it was just a very closed club, very difficult to get into it. But at some point, my mother sent me to the United States to study in high school. And the United States, it's incredible. Sports Cars Club of America, they have classes, there's tracks everywhere. And I remember very well, for $20, I took my first Formula Ford class. And he was just a teacher from a high school, a local high school that had a Formula Ford. and he would land there and teach young kids. And I was 14 or 15 years old, and I took my $20 and I drove around Sebring, small, not the whole Sebring track. They had like they patched it up with tires and cones, and I
Okay.
took my first class for $20. So when I did that, I said, okay, here in the United States, I can look into different areas and I can see if I can do this in an amateur level. And that's how I got hooked. I mean, I started running in Formula Ford in the local championships with a little budget. And, we used to go into the supermarkets and we would trade food for a sticker. I mean, that was the first sponsorship, Safeway or whatever the local market was. And I became very good friends with this teacher, and he would race one race and I would race the other because we only had his Formula Ford. It was a Crossley 32.
Oh, Crossley.
So, yeah. And, that year I became runner-up in the Southeast Championship in the United States. That's when I said, okay, there's some talent here. I can do this. So I went looking for bigger sponsorship. I was lucky enough that my family supported me, and I found some support from some Mexican companies, and I jumped to Mini Indy or Super V, which was at the time, that was the class before IndyCar, and so I like skipped a lot of steps there because all of a sudden I was doing very well in the class before IndyCar, so I just lucked into that.
It's just the way it kind of fell, I suppose. Now, actually, I just want to talk about that jump. I always like to talk about the jump from karts into cars, because obviously karts, it's a great proving ground. It's all over the world. It's where you start. You learn racecraft, how to control, the kart and everything, all that kind of stuff. I've spoken to a lot of people who have gone from the kart into a saloon car or touring car type car, and a lot of people who have gone straight into Formula Ford. And it's always the ones from Formula Ford who said it felt like just going to a bigger go-kart almost. Apart from there's like the gear shift and things like that, and a bit of aerodynamics. But how did you find the transition?
Yeah, that was not an easy transition because of the drafting. I mean, in go-karts, you really didn't draft that much. In Formula Ford, it was a very big surprise that you get on the straight and there's 10, 20 cars just following each other, and you need to time this passing very well. So it was a whole different strategy. But that's the kind of thing that I liked. It was very competitive, and you could have a 2 or 3 year old car and still be running and fighting for the front. So that's the amazing thing about Formula Ford, that it's for the ages, and you don't have to have the very best of equipment. Of course, that helps, but you can run there with some equipment that's not top of the line and with low budget, and still be able to be good and be running up front. So it's very good for teaching, and it's very good also for you to know if you have the talent, because there's a lot of talent, especially in the amateur world in the United States. There's a lot of very good drivers that they're just there for the fun.
Yeah, which is why you should do it in the first place, isn't it? Just for the fun and just for the enjoyment.
Yeah.
I mean, just quickly. I mean, was there ever any opportunity to come over to this side of the Atlantic and do the Formula Ford Festival or anything like that, or was it just very much like just like the Southeast?
Just the Southeast Championship.
Yeah.
And from there, I jumped to Mini Indy. So I did do in I think it was that same year, the 12 hours of Sebring. So for me, that was introduction to professional racing. And I mean, in a 911, and there's this 935s going by at 200 and some miles an hour in the straightaway. So that was very scary. And that was like, okay, this is very serious business, but maybe one day I can get there. And it took a while, but I got there.
Yeah.
I got to bigger cars than that.
But yeah, absolutely. I mean, just before we get into the Formula V or the Mini Indy, now this might be the internet playing a trick on me. I went onto a driver database just to get some knowledge, and it said your name was mentioned in was it a World Endurance Championship for drivers in a Porsche in 1979. Is that anything that you know about, or is that just the internet?
That was probably the 12 Hours of Sebring
Right.
in a Porsche 911.
Yeah. Fantastic. That's going, what a cool,
Mhm.
that's a cool car. It still is, isn't it? The 911. It's
Oh,
still great.
absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to sort of go on to, again, going from the karting to Formula Ford, but the jump from Formula Ford to Formula V or the Mini Indy, whatever you call it. I mean, that's got to be a big step, because there's, downforce and wings and everything else that kind of wasn't involved in Formula Ford. Again, how did you take to that? Because I know some people it takes a little while, or some people just get into it and think this is great.
Yeah, the wings is quite a jump, and that year was the first year that Ralph came up with the tunnels underneath the car. So
Right.
the grip, and all of a sudden you have to learn that the faster you go, the more grip you get, but you don't really know. To learn that edge and to learn that limit was quite a trick. But for me as a rookie, it was the same as the guys that had been running Mini Indy for 2 or 3 years, because we had to all relearn how to drive. So
Right.
that was sort of a blessing for me, because I came as a rookie, but everybody had to learn what this new thing was
Yeah.
about ground effects. And of course, ground effects was, Colin Chapman invented that or discovered that. And that was the thing. I was lucky enough that I got into a RT, I think it was the RT4.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
and that was the car to have that year
Yeah.
in Mini Indy. I mean, all of the marches were left behind, and the routes were the ones that were trying to win the championship. So I got into the right car. I learned it. It was not easy. My first test was in a Super Oval. We went to Ontario,
Okay. Yeah.
and I tell you, that's even it's just a mini Indy car. I mean, we're not going over 200 miles an hour, but that's still pretty scary, because that's the first time that I get to come out at, I don't know, 140, 160 miles an hour right next to a wall, to a very stiff, hard wall. So it's a little bit scary. And, Super Ovals, I liked it. I mean, I was. I like the that you need to be a very finesse driver. You need to be
Yeah.
very precise with the car, and that is something that I liked very much. So I fell into that, and it was enjoyable. Of course, my first test, I broke the track record, and then the next lap I crashed. Typical rookie. I mean, talented rookie, but rookie at the end of the day. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it was not the best introduction to the team, but
No, sure.
we got along real well that year, and I ended up finishing second, and that sort of opened the doors for me to step into IndyCar.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, I've just, there's some comments. Excuse me. Coming in, what Keith Mail, evening Keith. He said, he said he'd forgotten about a ground effect that was was happening in Indy at the time. Just for anyone who's not sure, this was around 1980, wasn't it?
1980, exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
He said that must have been scary but awesome at the same time. And I think with the lap record and the crash, it probably it was one followed by the other.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, I just want to touch on that season, because obviously you were done well in Formula Ford. You moved into Formula V. I mean, did you have any expectations or hopes for the season, or was it just a case of, well, let's do our best here and see what happens, or were you setting a target for anything?
No, basically that was it. I mean, every race for me was, I want to win this race, and I want to do my best this race. So there's no expectations of what's going to happen in the championship. I mean, it's just this race, and we'll see what happens for now, and we'll see later how it evolves. And of course, as the season was developing, then it became to, wait a minute, at some point, I don't remember if it was Milwaukee or where, somebody came up to interview me, and they said, so how does it feel to be the leader of the championship? And I had no clue. I mean, I had no idea that I was leading in points. And then it became very real. Then you go, oh, wait a minute, how many races are left and what are the points like?
You start, yeah,
And Peter Kuhn, which was my biggest rival, how is he doing and what do you expect of them? But up until about 3/4 of the season, it was just race by race. And then all of a sudden, it becomes this big issue because now you have to be fast. You want to win the race, but you
yeah,
also have to guard against not crashing and losing points or
yeah,
not making points. So it becomes a very different game. And
yeah.
I was not used to that. I was just used to going race by race. So
Sure.
that was quite a change.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting that you say you go like race to race, which is obviously, you know, what many people do in the first series, or certainly what you, the first season in a series, which is what you did. And I did see that there was, I mean, I looked at the results, which obviously you weren't paying that much attention to because you didn't realize you were leading the championship.
Yeah.
But I saw you took 19th in the first race. I think that was Milwaukee, and then the second race you went to Pocono, which again, you know, a complete change. You won the race. Was it in your second race? I think you won at Pocono.
Yeah, I
That
don't
must have
think
been
it was
great.
my. It was like the fifth race by the time we got to Pocono. It wasn't
Okay.
very early in the season. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, when we got to Pocono, it was a super oval. And I liked super ovals. I mean, after the Ontario experience, I knew I had to be a little bit more careful. I knew that when the car was feeling very good, that's when you're right on the edge. And Pocono, I really liked that racetrack. So it wasn't it was actually when it was actually very easy to win there. I had a very perfectly balanced car. I mean, my mechanics were just top of the line, and it was actually easy to win it. And when I first went to first, because I qualified like third or fourth or something like that, I'm like, okay, it's Formula Ford again. Everybody's drafting, and if you don't pick your spot exactly, you get to the back of the line.
Yeah.
So that's where the Formula Ford experience comes into fruition, because I remember Formula Ford, and if you go to the back of the line, it takes a long while to get back in front, even if you're the fastest car.
Sure.
So that was actually easy because I knew the strategy and I knew exactly where I should be, and I had the perfect car, so I knew I could win that race. I just had to be careful
Yeah.
into where to pace myself.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it's a nice feeling to have, knowing that you've got the car, you've got the strategy, and all you've got to do is do it, which sounds simple, but not obviously. But just to get a first win in open wheel racing, or certainly in a higher level series, that must have been a great feeling to have say that you've done it and that you can compete with everyone, and you can and obviously have a bit of a celebration as well, of course.
Yeah, that's quite a thrill. But again, it was so easy that you go, is this all it takes? I mean, sometimes it's a hell of a lot harder to finish third or fourth because you're fighting the car. And
Yeah,
when you got the
yeah,
perfect car, it's actually easy. And I had a very fast car also, so
yeah,
so it made it simple. And that's when you start to dream of where am I gonna go next year. That's when you start thinking, maybe I can jump from mini Indy to IndyCar.
yeah. So I'm definitely going to come to that in just a moment. But there was a couple of people might know, and anyone who watches these, I'm a bit of a nerd about circuits and stuff, and I always like hearing people's kind of thoughts about them. And I know the circuit's changed a bit, but there was one. Yeah, it was at Mid Ohio. It's still used for everything in the States. I got here, you finished 16th that year, which wasn't the best result, I guess. But was it a circuit that you like racing on? Because I love watching the IndyCar and IMSA and stuff from there.
Mid Ohio was a headache for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Laguna Seca and Mid Ohio, I never ever could figure out what I was doing wrong, and I knew I was doing something wrong
Right.
because I wasn't fast enough. And I
Right.
would go out in some of the practices and watch the other guys and see, okay, they're doing this and they're doing that. And I could never figure out those two tracks. I don't know why. I have no clue.
Yeah.
But Mid Ohio and Laguna Seca, of course, Mid Ohio later
Yeah.
I had a very big accent there. It was just something silly. But
Yeah.
after that, I liked Mid Ohio even less. So that's not one of my favorite circuits by
Yeah.
far.
Yeah. And understandably, and I will touch on that accident. I don't like talking about it, but we'll touch on it very shortly. But one thing I did like, though, obviously you've touched on the fact that by this point you already liked the super ovals or just ovals in general.
Mm-hmm.
In the doing research for this, I found a circuit that I had never heard of. I didn't even know about it. The oval at Minnesota.
Oh,
At the
yeah,
and you had a double header there. I think you finished second in each race.
yeah.
And I had a quick Google, had a quick look at it, and it was an oval, and the grandstand is still there. It's a state
Ah,
fairgrounds now, and it's
yeah,
still
it's a
there.
fairgrounds.
And the
Mhm.
outside banking, the earth on the outside of the circuit is still there, but the circuit isn't. But yeah, I was fascinated by it. What was that like to race there?
Oh, that was a wonderful, wonderful track. I think it was a little bit under half a mile, so it was a very short
Short
circuit.
oval, right?
Very aggressive driving. You had to be really on your toes there. And both races, me and Peter Kuhn, we had a hell of a fight for the lead, and he beat me both times. But it was a wonderful, wonderful place. I really enjoyed that. And of course, the Twin Cities. So it was, it was a different world.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, that track doesn't exist anymore because that was one of my favorite short ovals. Of course, it was a very short oval.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Which and I sort of tried to find some like footage from it. I found a few little videos from it, and it does look a bit crazy, but
Yeah,
it must have been great fun. But yes, but the main grandstand is still there, and
amazing. Yeah.
which is nice to see. We don't like circuits being demolished, things like that.
Mm.
But obviously, you've had a couple of podium finishes there, and overall in the season, what was it? There was it third? I think in the championship. What was it behind Peter Kuhn and Pete Hausmer?
No. Pete was behind me. I finished second that season.
Oh, I'm going to have a word with the people at Wikipedia. My goodness, that needs sorting out. We need to. So you came second, even better.
Yeah,
Obviously, I guess you would have taken second at the start of the season, but was there a part of you that thought, oh, I could have had him?
yeah. As a matter of fact, the last race, which was in Phoenix, Al Jr. drove as my teammate,
Right.
and the team owner sort of brought in Al Jr. because the whole strategy here was that Al Jr. needed to win that race to beat Peter Kuhn. And then maybe I could come in third and still beat him in the points, or just second and beat him in the points. So he brought in Al Jr. as a strategy to try and take a little bit of advantage for the numbers, but no possibility. Peter was very fast in Phoenix.
Yeah, he was quick, and he obviously got the job done. But again, start of the season, you would have taken second, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah,
Going
yeah.
into it.
Yeah. I had no expectations for the championship at the start of the season.
No, sure.
Mm.
So I mean, I did have a quick. I mean, we've kind of touched on it. There was obviously you said you were pretty good on the ovals, and the example I always go to is Ari Lyondike. Was that he won 7 IndyCar races, all on ovals, and 2 of them happened to be the Indy 500. He is, he kind of sounds like, because I spoke with Ari and he said the same thing about ovals. He said rather than having to go up and down and sweeping around corners and all that kind of thing, he enjoyed the actual precision and the thrill of going fast. It sounds like that was the same with you.
Oh, absolutely. And also, when I went to Indy, we had full skirts. We didn't have that in the mini Indy. It was still a tunnel car, but we didn't have full skirts and full moving skirts. So that was quite a different deal to drive because that's a lot of ground effects, and you can't really lose. You can't have any angle on the car because it loses all the grip. So it's a very different beast that you're driving there.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just quickly before we get on to Indy, I did see some names that were on the grid in that year. A guy called Bob Lazier, obviously, there's a family have had success at Indy, which is good, and Ed Pym, and also Pat Bedard. I forgot he raced. He went on to be a very well-respected journalist.
Yeah.
Were they sort of guys that you ever spent any time with, or? got to know at all?
Not with Pat. Bob, I did. Bob actually liked sort of the Mexican gangs because he had a resort in a very popular ski resort for Mexicans. So he almost even understood Spanish. So with Bob Lassier, I did get along quite well.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to hear. I'm just thinking because was he Buddy's father? Isn't it? I think was it Buddy Lazier's
Yeah,
father?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Buddy's father. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I
Mhm.
thought it was. Yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, it was good to sort of and obviously Buddy went on to win the 500. So yeah, no, good, great stuff. So did you have a plan in place? Was it always we'll try and do a year of the mini Indy and then go to IndyCar, or was it just or were you thinking of IndyCar at some point in future? How did it all come together to get on the grid for 81?
Well, I was actually looking to go into Formula One, and Mini Indy was just a stepping stone.
Right.
My sort of thinking was I go do Formula Ford, then I do whatever else is in the States on the way to Formula 3 or whatever is happening in Europe at the time.
Cool.
But I never got to Europe. So I did well in Formula Ford and then jumped into Mini Indy and did well there. So when we were able to buy a car from Roger Penske, I mean, come on, Roger
Wow.
Penske is going to sell us last year's car.
Wow.
That's like winning the lottery. So
Yeah.
my whole mind went like, I'm not going anywhere else. This is where I need to be. I mean, I have a chance to drive at Indy with a winning car. This is not something that you turn down. So
Yeah.
so all of a sudden, Formula One was just totally out of my mind. I mean, this is where I want to be, and this is what I want to win, the Indy 500.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when someone kind of like waves a Penske under your nose, you think, well, maybe I should take it. It is,
Absolutely.
I mean, which is fantastic. Obviously at the time they were sort of the team to beat. Well, and they have been for years, haven't they? Penske have been.
Oh yeah, yeah. And Roger was wonderful to me. I mean, for him to sell us a car, for him to give us advice to my team, that changed the whole aspect of how you arrive at Indy. Because now all of a sudden you're not just a rookie team and a rookie driver. All of a sudden you have great equipment and of course you have great advice. So any words coming from Roger Penske, you better listen to that.
Yeah,
and we had that opportunity.
That's almost like the perfect way to get into IndyCar, rather than no disrespect to any of the other teams, enter with a small budget and a backmarking team and trying to learn it. I mean, to get into machinery that works as a huge bonus. And it was basically like it was like a family entry, wasn't it? The team was a family entry, but with the Penske car, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah, we were partners with the team owner from Mini Indy, David Pasaki. So it was Josele Garza Racing. So we were a private team, and it was composed of David Pasaki and my family. So we were a small entry, but we had good equipment, and we were fortunate enough to have good sponsorship. So, it takes money to be able to arrive well at the Indy 500, and we had that. Jeffrey Brabham was my teammate, and that was also a blessing because Jeff Brabham he taught me a lot. He was more experienced than I, not a hell of a lot more experience, but more experienced than I. But of course, in the racing world, he was much more mature than I was. So it was a blessing to arrive at Indy with him. Between him and I, we had a very good relationship. So to set up the car at Indy, both as rookies, we helped each other, and that certainly eased the entry into Indy a lot.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's just nice to have someone in the same boat, but also someone who's done some more racing, and it feels like it was a good mix at the good time. And we should say that around this time you were what, like 19 years old?
I was 19 for my first Indy, which wasn't quite what my license said. I mean,
Yeah, there
somewhere
was
along the line between when I started in SCCA, uh, and then it was my first license was SCCA amateur, then SCCA pro, then USAC amateur, then USAC pro,
yep.
and then FIA. And somewhere along the line, my year of birth got all mixed up, and I appeared to be 22 when I was at Indy.
Right, right.
So I didn't want to correct any mistakes. I mean, I just shut my mouth and said, "This
Just
is my license." Period.
yeah, and if people don't notice, then they don't notice. Yeah.
A few years later, it just so happened that it got corrected. I don't
Yeah,
know, 83, 84, something like that.
yeah, sure, sure. But then obviously it was too late to do anything. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that actually was a question from like Simon Steele on Facebook. Hi, Simon. He said, yeah, how did you get into the Indy 500 in 1981 underage? Because obviously it was 21, wasn't it? You had to be
It
21
was, it
to
was,
race.
it was 21 then, yeah.
Yeah.
It
So,
was just a mistake that was carried from license to license to license. And
okay.
I never, up until like 1983 or 84, I didn't really pay much attention to correct that mistake.
Yeah, no, and it obviously worked in the favour as well for 81, which I'm going to come to in a second with the Indy 500. But I want to talk about your debut at Phoenix, your first race in the car. Again, a step up from the mini Indy, but I guess not quite as big a step up as it had been before, because obviously the mini Indy cars were.
It was actually bigger.
Oh, was it
For
really?
mini, oh yeah, mini
I thought it might have
Indy.
been
It was
similar, maybe not.
4-cylinder engines, maybe 120 horsepower, and then all of a sudden you get into a car that has 700 horsepower. It's a very, very big step.
Yeah, that'll do it.
The first time I tested an IndyCar, I remember very clearly. I went into the pits and the engineer said, "So how's the car?" I go, "I have no clue. My mind is like 100 meters behind the car. I'm not catching up to this thing. I'm just driving. I don't know what he's doing." I mean, you really, the
Right.
difference in speed and the difference in acceleration is incredible. So it took a while to get used to that. And Phoenix, of course, was, I don't know if they still use it a lot for testing, but we used it to test a lot in Phoenix. So that's where our test was with the car. And it's not that fast of an oval, but still, compared to the mini Indy, it was quite a big change.
Wow. I guess with such a change in horsepower and speed, I mean, the first few laps, you can't think quick enough to what the car's doing. I guess that's the biggest problem. It's not actual driving it.
You're just reacting to what the car is doing. You're not really driving it. You just try and keep it in a safe spot. So that was, but of course, I think all of the race car drivers were also thrill seekers. So that was quite a thrill. All of a sudden you step in the accelerator and that thing just jumps out.
Wow. that must have felt incredible. But obviously you had the test, the first race, 21st in the first race, which was done. You said you didn't have that much time to get used to it. But the good news is that your second race wasn't that big. It's only the Indy 500.
Yeah.
Goodness me. Having had that experience, obviously, in Phoenix, and then to go to the Indy 500, you must have been so excited to go to the 500, even though you didn't have much experience in the car. You must have been, because the whole month of May is just because it was a full month back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it used to be the whole month of May. So, and there's a lot of things that go on in Indy. I mean, rookie orientation, and then press conferences, and it's a social event, and then there's also politics, and I was numb throughout the whole month because I had a very good public relations person that was sort of guiding me through all of this. And then, I didn't understand, why do I have to go to that dinner, but I can't go to this other lunch? Because politics play a big part of this. And I'm like, I'm just here to drive. And my PR guy used to say, no. You're here for a hell of a lot more than that. Indy in particular, you have to know the people and to behave properly and to I mean, maybe even eat properly and go to the right restaurant. Then, because
Right.
it's a whole 3 weeks plus the rookie orientation thing.
Sure.
So, it was truly, honestly, I was numb throughout. I had very good guides, my
Yeah.
engineers, my public relations, my team manager. I mean, all these people that guide you through all these different things that you have to do it properly. And that's part of the love for the Indy 500. Of course, you have to concentrate now and do it in less days because you can't have all that time just for one race.
Sure.
But that was part of it. And just understanding the qualifying rules. I mean, for me, it was like mind blowing. What do you mean I have three chances? I mean, if they don't pull out the green flag, but the yellow flag, and how am I supposed to know it was very difficult to understand all this concept
Sure.
and the order of qualifying and the time that, if the track closes at 6, but you're in line, you can qualify later. So a lot of these things that that's why the Indy 500 is still the Indy 500. It's very complicated. The rules, the weather, the timing. It has a lot of different things. Now, things were smoothly for me the first year. So I was very lucky. I didn't have to understand a lot. I had to know it, but I didn't have to be very precise in all the rules and everything, because when things go well, you just drive.
Yeah. And I guess when people told you to go somewhere, you went, and when you go and do something, you did it, and it was.
Yeah, you didn't have to understand that. I had very good coaches, or I had very good people in every aspect of it. So, later on, you start understanding all of this, and then you can make decisions on your own. But the first year, I was just guided, and I was guided correctly. So I was lucky in that respect also.
That's brilliant. Such a huge thing to have, is having a good team around you, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Especially that first time. So obviously it affects the preparations. It's completely different. But I want to just quickly talk. I've said this before about people who have raced in their first Indy 500. Everyone who watches these will know that I'm obsessed with the blinking race. Everyone knows that. But your rookie orientation, obviously, they tell you how to do it, and you need to pass it to get into the, to be able to race and everything. Again, what was your first feeling the first time you went round Indianapolis Motor Speedway? Foot flat to the floor, that far from a wall, at Indianapolis, with everything around, with the grandstands and the pagoda and everything that was there. Were you driving with a huge smile on your face?
I was terrified. I was really, really scared.
I'm not surprised.
Even just going out of the pits. At the time, we didn't have grass between the pit exit and the track. So,
of course, yeah.
The cars that were running on the track would come right down to the white line where the pit exit was. So you're going out of the pits at, I don't know, maybe 80, 120 miles an hour, and you're checking your gauges and you're still feeling the car. And all of a sudden, you just have somebody go flying by you this far from you at 200 miles an hour. It scares the living shit out of you. I mean, it makes you jump in your seat. So you have to get used to that. That's just getting out of the pits. Then you have to go out and drive with everyone else. So I was very scared. And rookie orientation, you have all these veterans that some of them are telling you that you're never going to make it. Some of them are trying to help you and telling you what to do. Some of them are joking with you. Gary Bettenhausen, oh man, he was a royal pain, but he was the most helpful. And I truly, truly am grateful to Gary. But he was a hard joker. So he's joking with you, and then all of a sudden he tells you, but you know what? If you lose the car, do this and do that and take your thumbs out of the wheel. And all of a sudden he gets serious about something it sounds very important because it's coming from a veteran that's crashed at Indy a few times. So he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So you have to take things in stride, but it's not easy to be listening to everybody because you get very conflicting advice. I mean,
Sure.
Mario Andretti is very serious when he talks to you, and he's Mario. So you got to pay a lot of attention to what he's telling you. And then comes Gary, and he tells you the opposite. And Gary also knows his stuff. He's not Mario, but he's
Sure.
driven around that place quite a few times. So you at night you go into the hotel, and you got to mesh these ideas and try and make the best of it for the next day, and try and be smooth and try and not crash. Basically, that's the first thing you got to do.
Yeah.
And rookie orientation, they tell you got to drive 10 laps at 100, I think it was 170 miles an hour average. How in the world am I going to know what 170 miles an hour feels like? I know what 180 or 185 feels like, because that's what when I'm pushing it. But I don't know what's 10% less or 5%. How do I do that? And nobody prepares you for that. So you look at the tachometer and you try and keep it at a steady space, but it's not the same in all four corners.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
that's very difficult. And you have 4 veterans watching you, and all of USAC and all the power of USAC, making sure you don't make a mistake. So the rookie orientation is quite a difficult thing to do. I don't know these days how they do it, but it went smoothly, and I did my 170 laps, then 180 mile an hour laps, then I think 185 mile an hour laps, and it went well. Of course, I had the car that could do it also. Sure. And I watched some of the rookies that had a car that could barely make the average of 185. So when they were in the test, they were almost like qualifying, because they were right on the edge, and you could tell. So for them, it was a hell of a lot harder than it was for me.
Sure. Wow. That's fascinating. I just love that kind of like the driver standpoint, because obviously we just think, oh yeah, rookie orientation. He's a racing driver, he'll be fine. But it's not that simple, obviously. But the following, I think you touched on it there, it was like the following day you went out for qualifying. I mean, you said the main thing was not to crash. Obviously, you wanted to get into the field and get into the race. Not crashing is obviously part one. But, I mean, do you remember your qualifying run? And did you expect it to have gone so well when you were told where you'd qualified?
Yeah, I didn't expect to be that far up front. I knew it was well because the car was good. And one thing that happens at Indy is, depending on the wind and depending on where the sun is and the time of day, the car behaves differently, very, very differently. Sure. So you sort of set it up to try and guess, because you get in line at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you may go out to qualify at noon, or you may go out to qualify at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right. And
so
like temperatures
during this process, you're tuning the car, and you're talking with your mechanics, and you're asking the drivers that are coming in that are friendly to you. You're asking them, was it pushy? Was it oversteer? And then you change your car, sort of guessing on what that happened. So experienced mechanics, experienced engineers at Indy know that very well. Yeah. And so we're tuning the car, and when I got to go out, I looked and it was a little bit overcast, and that's when my car worked the best. And we had very light wind. So I go, you know what? This is a very good time for me, and I can do very well. How well, I don't know, but I know my car is going to perform. Right. If I just keep my stuff together and drive with precision, don't overheat the rear tires, because that's the main thing at Indy. Remember, Indianapolis, you got to do the average of 4 laps. So it's not just your fast lap. And that's mind-blowing. That's very different from anything else that you do. Yeah. So you cannot overheat your tires, but you got to be very fast from lap 1. Otherwise, your average drops.
Yeah, because it drops every lap pretty much, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I knew I could be fast. So I went out, and the first lap, I seen my board, 194, 185, I don't remember, something like that. And I go, right, this is good. This is the times that I can do. And it's actually a little bit faster than I expected. Right. So second lap was good. And then when I looked at the board on the third lap, I go, this may be it, but I don't know, because the green and the yellow flag the team owner has it at the entrance of the pit. So
Right.
if he sees that I'm fast, he keeps a yellow flag down. If he doesn't, he pulls out the yellow flag. But that's not up to me. And those last three corners is like, what do I do? I mean, is he going to pull out the yellow flag and I'm actually sort of risking my life here, or should I just coast in? So, you just push it. And I remember he's coming out of turn 4, and he was like this. And he was actually stepped. He stepped on the yellow flag. He said, "Nobody's gonna do this by mistake." He was stepping on the freaking flag.
Making sure it was.
Yeah. So
Wow.
you go through and I go, I did well, but I don't know how well.
Yeah.
And then when I saw my times, I'm like, geez, I get to start up front.
Yeah.
How far up front, I don't know. But starting up front at the Indy 500, forget about trying to win it, just trying to survive it. It's very, very, very different. And I had not had the experience to start there, but I knew if I was going to start at the back, it was going to be hell.
Yeah.
So starting in the second row, it's like, this is a piece of cake. I mean, of course, I have the most difficult drivers there. AJ Foyt was right in front of me.
Yeah.
Johnny Rutherford was inside my row. And, Foyt is going to be tough. Rutherford is going to be very tough.
Yeah.
Bobby Unser was on pole. He's just going to walk away with this. But at least I only have 6 or 7 guys to worry about, not 30. So that's a very, very different story. I mean, you sleep that night very well when you know you're starting up front.
Yeah, it's much easier to have 27 guys behind you than 27 in front, isn't it? It's and it's just, I mean, for those who don't know, you qualified 6th for your first ever Indy 500, and as you touched on there, the only people in front of you were Bobby Unser, Mike Mosley, AJ Foyt, Gordon Johncock, and Johnny Rutherford.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's some company to be keeping in your first. In your first start. I mean, and you said that you slept well. I mean, you must have been excited for it. You've obviously slept well that night. But race day, I'm only going to touch on this for 81. Just pick bits for following years. But 81, I mean, had you ever been to the Indy 500 as a fan or anything like that before? Was it your first time there?
First time there.
As a driver, with everything that goes on race day, I mean, I've been there as a fan and it's incredible. But as a driver, I mean, is it hard to kind of stay focused on the race that's coming up, because there's so much going on, isn't there, before the race?
Just even thinking, what time do I have to drive out to the track? How am I going to get to the track? What passes do I need? Because there's all sort of passes there. You need one for the gate, another one for the garage, and another one for the pit. So just being, it's mind-blowing because you have to prepare for all of that. So I had like a list of the things that I needed to have on my nightstand. So in the morning, I wouldn't forget anything, and do a checklist on exactly what you need and what time you need to be there. But all of that becomes nothing. Once you're in the garage, once you are there, I mean, your mind just goes into the race and you just concentrate on the start. And at least for me, I reran that start like a million times. If Bobby doesn't start well, if AJ doesn't start well, a lot of people were telling me, just stay away from Rutherford because he's going to come through like a bull. So don't even get near him. Mike Mosley, he had a Chevrolet engine that was incredibly fast in the straights. But his Seagull car was not that good on the corners. So it's like, I need to get by him very, very soon. Otherwise, I'm going to get stuck with the rest of the field.
Yeah.
You rerun this, and once you're in the track, and you sit down in the garage, and you sort of, when I get nervous, I get sleepy. I don't know why.
Okay.
But, I took cat naps between, I don't know, I think I got to the track at 6 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning. And I was not a morning person. It took a while. So I took cat naps in the garage. I don't know, maybe 10 or 20 cat naps between then and the start. Wow. But you rerun every minute. When they say drivers to your cars, what are you going to do? Are you going to put your helmet on there, or are you going to be too hot? and you try and run. When are you going to put your gloves on? I mean, you run every freaking minute because you want to be perfect into everything. Are you going to step in the car on the right side or on the left side? Because that also, you have to watch the front wings of your car. I was terrified that somebody would step on my front wing.
Right.
Because half a degree that they would change my wing would spell disaster for me. So when you go out to the grid, I'm standing next to my car. There's a mechanic in each wing just watching them, but you're terrified that everybody approaches you. So then you don't want to guard the wing because people are going to approach you to wish you well, and then they're close to your wings.
Right.
So you maybe go to the back of the car and all these different things that have nothing to do with the race. But that's just part of the experience of being new at the 500.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. These are all of the things that us fans don't think of. Just very quickly, I have actually just received an email from a chap called Alan Berg, who I know you know very well. He was, I think he's still on. He said he had to hop off at 4:00 Eastern time. He was watching on YouTube. He was trying to put a comment in, and for some reason it didn't work. So he said to pass on his best wishes to you. Because Alan came on a couple of years ago. He says, please give him my best. So he says hello.
Yeah, Alan drove for me after I retired, and I had my Formula 2 team here in Mexico. One of my best drivers and a great guy.
Oh, I do hope he's tuning in for that bit. If not, I will ping him an email. But Alan, if you do see this, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you're well. We'll have a catch up soon. I was actually he said he was a bit busy. I was actually going to send him the link. He was going to hop on and say hello, but he hasn't been able to. But that's lovely.
Hello, Alan.
That's great to hear. Lovely stuff. So yes, just obviously that's the pre-race stuff, Indy 500. I mean, I guess once you get through the nervous kind of potential carnage at the start of the race, I mean, obviously the nerves on the parade lap and everything must have been through the roof. But was it okay once you kind of settled into the rhythm of the race and you got through the first couple of laps? Were you fairly comfortable?
Yeah, the thing that happens at Indy is when you have people in the stands, which you ran a whole month or so, you know the track, you know the wind, you know where the wind is going to push the car depending on which way it's blowing. And then all of a sudden, the grandstands get full with people and it changes. Because, for example, in turn one, there's a gap between the grandstands at maybe midpoint in turn one. And if the wind is blowing this way, you get a corridor of wind. So you go into the corner, there's no crosswind, and then all of a sudden it pushes your car and pushes it, maybe a foot or half a foot. And that's a very big surprise that you've been there a month and you never experienced that. And all of a sudden, race day, it's there. And the first time that you experience that, you have no clue what happened. You think something broke in the car because you go, and you have no clue what happened. And then you look at the windsock down the front straight and you go, something is odd down in the grandstands because the wind's blowing the way I was used to getting a push. And now all of a sudden, I'm getting moved around. And you realize it's the people in the grandstand. They're blocking the wind and they're just leaving an alley. So Indy in particular, because you have hundreds of thousands of people, race day does change the way the track behaves and the way your car behaves on the track. So that was very surprising. But of course, by then you've been running there for 3 weeks. So you know the track, you know your car, and you're very familiar with that. So you can react to those changes. But for a rookie, it's very surprising.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, as you say, it's your first time there. And I've spoken to a few people and they've said the same thing. You think you've done well in qualifying or in testing, and then all of a sudden there's that barrier almost of people. Yeah.
And nobody told me that. This is something that the veterans forgot to tell me. They guide you and they're very helpful, but for some reason this was something that and the other thing is race day, when you walk onto the track, you look at the straightaway and you don't believe that 3 cars are going to fit at the end of the straight. I mean, you've been running there the whole month, but you see the entrance to turn one looks incredibly narrow. You go, well, I know we fit there, but I don't know how we're going to do it. So you just, well.
Wow. It's incredible. I mean, it is. I love the start of the Indy 500. I mean, my mates, when I watch it with them, every time they know what I'm going to say. When the green flag goes, everyone goes into turn one, and I just stand up and go, "Everyone behave themselves." But it must be amazing for you guys. Absolutely incredible.
The big difference for me, and first year I get to start in the second row, and then 1982, without going into much detail, I get to start in the last row.
Yes.
And I'm now a veteran. Veteran of 2 years, but at least I'm a hell of a lot more experienced. But nothing prepares, I don't think, anybody to start at the back. The back 2 rows of the Indy 500, it's like a freaking tornado. And I was told you gotta get off the throttle way, way, way earlier than you think, because the movement of air and the vacuum that happens with 30 other cars in front of you at 200 miles an hour is going to be a very different thing. And I tell you what, I got off the throttle at the start-finish line, and I was still catching them. I mean, I almost got in the brakes before turn one, because it's you never believe that they're going to suck your car into there with that much force. And the side panels of your car are banging against your helmet because it's not very clean air. It's very turbulent there. So that was also quite terrifying. This is my second year. I'm supposed to know what the hell I'm doing here, and I'm almost crashing into people in front with my foot off the throttle. So, that starting up front in my first year, after that experience, my second year, I was really, really blessed, because I don't know what would have happened.
Yeah.
As a rookie, starting in the back is terrifying.
Yeah, it may not have lasted that long. But I mean, just to quickly touch on the end of 81. 81, obviously, you actually led 13 laps of the Indy 500, I believe, on that year. Yep. That must have been I mean, obviously, you know how the strategy was going and things like that, but it must have been a great feeling. Rookie, first time at Indy 500 to be leading the race. I mean, wow.
The first time I led, my team wouldn't tell me. I sort of knew, Bobby was in front. He was leading and he was dominating the race. And Mario and Gordon Johncock, we were the 4 that were sort of fighting up front. But, I sort of got a feeling that all of a sudden there was nobody in front of me. And I go, I may be leading this thing because Mario, Gordy, and Bobby went into the pits. And the strategy we had is the kind of engine we were running, or the kind of valve we were running, we could run a little bit longer between pit stops. A little bit less power, but we could stretch the pit stops. So I sort of knew I was in the lead, but I wanted to know. So I got on the radio and I said, am I leading this thing? And they wouldn't put my board out and they wouldn't answer on the radio. So I thought, well, maybe the radio broke, but why aren't they putting my board, at least with my average laps? So I had to look up the tower, and I started looking like from 10th place, and I wasn't there. And then, maybe 3 laps later, I got up to 3rd place, and I still wasn't there. And then all of a sudden, I see number 55 in my first place. I got nervous. I got very nervous because I go, they're not telling me I'm leading, and I'm leading. Something must be wrong. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be here. So what do I do now? Do I keep driving the same? Do I push a little bit more? Do I relax? I mean, they have to tell me something. So my boys must have screeched on the radio when it says, what do I do now? And they came back. My engineer came back and he says, just do what you're doing. You're leading. So I go, okay, thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, it would have been nice to be told, maybe. But unfortunately, was it 135 or something like that, 138? Unfortunately, you had an accident, and that was the end of the race. Obviously disappointing. That's just fallen down. But you still got like Rookie of the Year, which that you must have been very proud of that.
Oh, absolutely. That's the thing. I've been asked, were you looking to try and get Rookie of the Year? And again, I wasn't. I was just trying to qualify for first, I don't want to crash. That's the first thing. And then after that is I want to qualify for this race. And then I want to start this race. Uh, where does this go? I don't know. I just want to try and do the best that I can with the great equipment that I have and wherever that ends up happening. And after the race, when there were rumors that I may be getting Rookie of the Year, I'm like, I don't want to think about it. I'm going to show up to the awards dinner no matter what.
Yeah.
So, that night somebody called me and said, we want to make absolutely sure that you're at the awards dinner. And I go, okay, I know why. So, it was a great honor because really, I ran with some other, Jeffrey Brown. I mean, there were some other rookies there that did also very well.
Yeah.
Jeffrey was the one that the top finishing rookie. So, and he was my teammate. So that was a little bit difficult to say. I wish I got the Rookie of the Year, but maybe he also deserved it. It was,
Yeah.
but of course, it's a very welcome trophy,
Yeah.
which I hold dearly right back here.
Oh, lovely. That's lovely to hear. Yeah, we like that. It's a lovely honour to have. Just want to quickly touch on the rest of the year before we just skip forward a little bit. I think you couple of highlights. You came 8th in Milwaukee, 6th in Phoenix, both ovals, unsurprisingly. Were you pretty happy with that first year, the way it went?
Not really. We had some arguments. We had some differences of opinion with the team owner. He wanted to save the PC9, which was our main car. We had a spare PC7, which was a 3-year-old car. So at some points we ran the PC7. I didn't do so well. I wasn't that fond of the PC7 because, of course, I had tasted the PC9. So after Indy, it turned a little bit difficult. But overall, it was a very good year. I mean, I got exposed to a lot of sponsorship possibilities. So that's always very welcome. And, the PC9 was a very good car in everywhere. It was a very good overall car. There were some cars at Indy that were very good in fast ovals and terrible in short ovals. And the PC9 was a very good mix. I mean, Roger Penske had some very good cars at the time. So I did well, and I did well in the road courses too. Road America, for me, Road America was my dream track. I mean, I always did well there, no matter what. Yeah. So it turned out to be a very good year. And then, of course, David Pisacki went his way. I went my way. And the year after, I had my own team, which was also a new challenge because I was team owner and a driver. Wow. And that's something I don't recommend very much. It didn't go very well for me.
Yeah. Especially at the age of 20, 21. It's a lot to deal with. I just want to touch on 82. I mean, we said about Indy, you started at the back. It only lasted one lap, I think, wasn't it, with oil pressure and things like that. One thing I don't really like to talk about this kind of stuff, but obviously 82 Indy 500, many people will know what it's memorable for. The loss of Gordon Smiley. Absolutely. It's still the worst single-seater accident I've ever seen. If people do want to watch it, it's on the internet. I don't recommend it. When that kind of thing happens, I mean, I've spoken on this topic of loss and death to a few drivers, and they've all said they're able to just not forget about it, but just lock it away somewhere in their head when that kind of thing happens and you go and race and you do your thing. But I mean, did it affect you? I mean, obviously you were a very young man at the time, and Gordon Smiley had done a lot of racing, well respected guy, and
one of the fast guys, without a doubt.
Yeah, very quick. And obviously when he was lost, I mean, did it affect you? Because I know it would have affected me.
You have to learn from all of that. And we had full skirted ground effects cars at the time. And I watched the video many, many times because I needed to learn what went wrong, what happened, and try and prevent that from happening to me. And I will tell you something very simply. After I watched that, I went back to my car and I put a pad on my right elbow that wouldn't allow me to turn the wheel past this amount of right correction.
Because that's
Because
what.
that's exactly what happened. He lost the car, he corrected properly,
And then
but
it's
when he came back and the full ground effects came back into him, it just pointed him into the wall.
yeah,
And that's reflex. A race car driver, when the car goes sideways, you just go that way. So I had to figure out a way that I wouldn't do the same exact, because it's just reflexes. And what I did is I put a pad on my right elbow so I couldn't turn the wheel past maybe, I don't know, 2-3 degrees of right correction. And that's what I figured in my mind. That was the most that you could do. If you went past that, you better let the car spin around, because if you catch it, you're going to go straight into the wall, and so you have to learn from that. And that's just part of being a race car driver. What for me emotionally, what was probably worse was the year before, when Danny and Gaius crashed in turn 3.
Oh yes, and the front of the car came off, and
Because Danny had a big crash, and then when we drove by, you could see his legs just dangling outside of the
hanging out the
top
front.
of the car. So that emotionally was a little bit worse, because you're still driving and you're still on the car and you still have to accelerate as soon as that yellow flag goes out and when the green flag comes on. So that mentally was a little bit harder. Was like, okay, so that happened and I saw that, but just keep your composure and swallow through that and go back to the racing, because you got to do it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I've forgotten. Obviously, that was in the race, wasn't it? But he, for those who don't know, Danny did survive. I think he only passed away a couple of years ago, didn't he? I think Danny, the Flying Hawaiian, which is a lovely name. But yeah, that was great. But no, it's amazing that you almost had to physically force yourself not to, not to give you the ability to make the correction to maybe cause what happened with Gordon. Yeah, but definitely don't recommend watching it, folks. But it's a similar kind of season. You took 4th at Road America that year. Obviously, your best result so far, which must have been very, very pleasing, especially on a road course.
Absolutely.
Fantastic circuit as well. It's on my bucket list. Road America. I spoke to a racing driver here in the UK on Sunday. There's a British touring car, former British touring car driver called Bobby Thompson, and he was doing some coaching over at Road America, and he said, he just smiled the whole weekend. It's just an incredible.
It's a fabulous racetrack.
Yeah, fantastic place. Just to jump forward a bit, 83. You switched to the well-known Machinists Union Racing Team. Obviously, was that just on the back of how 82 had been, being a team owner and things like that? Because you ended up staying for a few years, didn't you?
Yeah, 82 was not a good year as a team owner, and business in Mexico turned really bad. The president at the time I was the owner, or my family was the owner of a bank, and they took the bank away, and it was big turmoil. So financially, it was a very difficult time. So I was left without a job in Mexico and without a ride in the States. So Machinists Union was gracious enough to say, yeah, you can drive a couple of races. We'll see how you do. And of course, that was a challenge for me, and I was 100% concentrated on being the number one driver. And I concentrated and did very well, and was hired full time the next year. So I drove initially, I think I was hired for 3 races, and then I ended up doing almost half the season, and then the next season I was a full time driver. So I'm very grateful to Machinists Union. And my years there were absolutely amazing. The people at Machinists Union were just terrific engineers and managers, and it was great team.
That's lovely to hear. Love to hear that. And obviously, the first season there, you had Roger Mears as your teammate, who was also Rick's brother.
Roger was my teammate.
Obviously, brother of Rick, and good to have people from that family, that racing family, they're good people to have on side, aren't they?
Mhm.
Yeah, which is fantastic to hear. And 83, fair, as you said, it was a kind of a part season, and it kind of built into a full-time ride for 84. One thing I want to touch on though is it would turn out to be your best result in IndyCar. That second place at Portland, which is
Michigan.
it's Michigan, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, yes. I mean I mean, had it been bothering you that you hadn't got onto a podium, or was it just something that was
I had been
purely
at a
down to luck?
podium in Elkhart Lake at a circuit, but not at a 500 race. And actually, the 500 races, they only give one trophy and they only take the winner there. But
Yeah, the Borg winner, yeah.
apparently, my performance was so good that they decided to do a podium for the top three, because it was a hell of a closing of a race. I mean, I was a lap behind Johnny Rutherford, and then with 10 laps to go, the yellow flag comes out, and it's Johnny, two lap cars, and then me also lapped, and I unlapped myself and caught him again. So I mean, I was roaring. I thought I could catch him, but hey, it's Johnny Rutherford. It's nothing easy to do. So he held his ground, and he was very difficult to catch the second time. But it was a very good closing for a 500-mile race. So they were gracious enough. Roger Penske was gracious enough to do an impromptu podium and do the whole thing for the top three.
Oh, that's
But
fantastic.
that's one of the, besides rookie of the year, without a doubt, is my greatest feather in the cap.
Sure.
But finishing second to Johnny Rutherford at
Yeah.
Michigan was the thrill of my life.
Oh, I'll bet. And finishing only, it was only Johnny Rutherford ahead of you. And I mean, Johnny Rutherford, for those who don't know, was quite good. If you want to have a quick look on on the internet, he was pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just love it, because there's so many racers that say, oh, regardless of who it is, I really want to win. And it's really lovely to hear that you were just so happy to be racing the guy and
Yeah,
to take second, to be in that company. Fantastic.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely love that. One thing I did want to touch on before we touch on the Indy 500 was 84. You raced at Montreal on the Grand Prix circuit, which
Mhm.
I'd love to see IndyCar go back there. That'd be fantastic. Fourth there, and the only three people ahead of you were Danny Sullivan, Bobby Rahal, and Michael Andretti. Again, I mean, wow. What was it like taking a kart round there? That must have
It's
been great.
the Indy cars, the kart cars were not good in the streets. They were
Sure.
very, very difficult to set up. You had to wrestle them a lot. But I enjoyed street racing. I really, really loved the street circuit. So that for me was a thrill. And I came there with less equipment than these guys. And we were the under, how do you say in English?
The underdog.
The underdog, and to be able to match them in the
Yeah.
street circuit, you go, that's got something to do with my hands. So you're
Yeah.
very proud of that, and you wrestle the car, and you push as much as you can, because you're coming through as a driver. So that for me was a lot of fun, very, very much fun. All the street circuits for me were very much fun, and to be able to finish fourth just behind these three guys, man.
Yeah.
And besides that's a very beautiful place to race in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was the man-made island built for Expo 58
Mhm.
or something, wasn't it? One of the expos. And I'm so glad you said that about street circuits, because again, anyone who tunes into these will know that I love a street circuit. People say, oh, especially these days, they say, oh, they're boring, they're processional, they're whatever. But I said, no, a circuit should always be a challenge for the driver first, regardless of what it looks like on the TV. And I love a street circuit, so I was so glad that you have said the same thing, which is great. Now, we talk about the Indy 500 a lot. I want to talk about Indianapolis, because you say about being in good company. Indy 500 that year, you qualified 24th, not where you wanted to be, but on the same row as Chip Ganassi and Emerson Fittipaldi. Again, pretty good people to be alongside.
Especially Emerson. Chip was my teammate, and he's gone on to be one of the greatest winners as a team owner. As a driver, you can't compare him to Emerson. Emerson is a world apart.
Yes,
E-
and I
Emerson
think Chip
is,
would agree. I think.
yeah. Emerson is one of the few, especially in the streets in New Jersey. When we ran in New Jersey in the rain, watching Emerson drive, I'll be very honest, is one of the things that I watched him and I would say, maybe I cannot do that. The
Right.
rest of the guys, I can do whatever the hell they're doing. But what Emerson is doing, especially under braking, shifting the car, there's just a little talent there that I may be missing. I mean, Emerson was just amazing to watch in the streets and in the rain. Oh my God, it was
Yeah.
just incredible, incredible. So to start with Emerson at Indy was quite a thrill. I mean, here's a world champion.
Yeah. I guess you're focusing on what you're doing on the parade laps and stuff. But did you have a moment where you just had a quick look at it? Wow.
No, not really, not really. You, but you do know who he is. So
Yeah.
what you do watch is how he's behaving in the parade light. I mean, is he trying to push you? Is he keeping his place? Is he trying to steal the start? You do watch that because you know there's a lot of experience there. And you go, maybe I'll match him or maybe I'll try and sneak one on him. But you do watch very much what he's doing, not as any other driver, because you know there's many miles with under that helmet.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. A couple of things about the rest of the race. Now, I read about this. The incident with Mario. Apparently you I was going into the pits and you came across and you clipped his nose and his nose cone went off. He had to retire, things like that. I did see something when I was researching this. There was a whole discussion. People, even now, 30, 40, 41 years later, saying, "Oh,
44 years later."
I'm thinking, it's 41 years ago, guys. You weren't even live, most of you. I was only 3. But you clipped his nose came off. Did you know he was there? Right behind you?
I don't even remember that happening.
Yeah. That's the thing. I haven't seen any footage of it. But there was this whole big argument apparently.
Are you sure that happened? Because I don't remember that happening. I think somebody would have told me, hey, you just clipped Mario.
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all.
And someone said it, and then someone said that Mario, this doesn't sound like Mario. Disclaimer, I don't believe this for a minute. He said that he took you out in a race later on in the season, deliberately, which doesn't sound like Mario to me.
No, we had a thing in Elkhart Lake where I moved inside him and he moved. So he pushed me into the grass, but that's just racing. I mean, he was blocking the spot. It was I don't remember clipping him. But I'll have to go. You said 84?
84, apparently so. But this could be a classic case of the internet blowing things up and making stuff up. It happens a lot.
I don't remember ever having an issue with Mario.
No, fair enough. And I'm sure Mario doesn't remember either. So that's all fine. Just want to skip forward, actually, 85 and 86. Both, they were quite similar seasons. You had a strong end to both seasons. I noticed just in the results and everything. Was it 85? You had 6th at Montreal and Michigan, 7th at Laguna Seca, top 10s in Phoenix, Miami, etc. And then the following year, pretty similar. Was it a period where, the car just seemed to get better during the season, or was it just the way the results fell? I mean, what are your memories of 85 and 86? Apart from the one accident, which we'll come to.
I don't think the car would get better. I think actually, it just happened that the circumstances were falling in because we were right at top 10 all the time. And that gets a little bit boring because you go to every race and you go, I want to win, but I don't have the equipment to win. And I knew it. Yeah. So you just try and do the best is going to be an 8th, maybe a 7th. If somebody crashes up front, then maybe you get to top 5. But honestly, you know that you're going to run between 8th and 12th, and that's really your spot. So you concentrate in just having a smooth weekend, trying to do the car that is the best setup for the race. You really don't set up the car to qualify because you know you're not going to gain a lot there. So that happens a lot. But you fall with the mechanics into a rhythm that you start getting smooth on the things, and the car starts working, and the results just started coming. That was all, except for the crash.
Yes, which well it leads us perfectly into the crash. Now, I mean, because I've sort of did a lot of research. I sort of knew about your career, most of it, and I did a bit of research just to find some other little bits that I could find. And every time I googled your name and the word IndyCar or kart, the first 20 results were this accident at, at Mid Ohio. And again, I don't like talking about accidents, but things do go wrong sometimes. Luckily, the footage isn't. It's sort of it's 1986, so it's filmed on I don't know, some kind of potato or something. But it's very grainy, and it's just the aftermath, and there's dust and everything. But the image of the car afterwards is pretty shocking. I mean, what do you remember about it, and what happened?
Yeah, a lot of the footage was not there because the ESPN people told me later that I took the cables of one of the cameras out when I ran into the grass, when I ran off the track.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's one of the cables I took with me, so they didn't have any footage. They had to take the footage from a different angle that was after the whole crash had finished. So that's part of the thing. It was just one of these freak accidents. I mean, I was running well. I was running probably eighth. The guy in seventh was maybe half a lap ahead, and the guy in ninth was half a lap behind. We only had like 10 laps to go. It was all smooth. It was all well. And I was lapping Randy Lanier. And when I came to lap him in that front straight, I went a little bit too close to him. So what I believe happened, I'm not 100% positive on this, is my car jumped right. His car jumped a little bit left. I got my wheel over his front wheel. And so I went off the track, I hit a rail, and the rail launched me into the air. Now, I've been in the air and flipping before, and all you do is just hang on to the wheel. But there's a bridge. There's a car bridge that crosses the track.
Yeah.
And I was up high enough that the car hit the bridge, and it was cut in half. So the half front of the car stayed in the bridge, and the other half came down below the bridge and landed upside down. So I had quite a bit of the car inside my left leg, so much so that my left femur was sticking out.
Oh.
And, a couple of broken ribs and one thumb, not both. So I didn't take my thumbs out like Gary said. I didn't listen to him. I don't know. So one broken thumb, a few ribs, but the main issue was the left femur. Wow. And I was stuck, half a car inside me. So it took a while for the emergency crew to dig me out of there. But that's one of the wonderful things of kart. You have the same medical team go to every race. Yeah. So you know them by name. They know. I mean, I've been biking with some of the doctors and some of the paramedics. Right. So I remember very well. I mean, I was upside down and I was hurting very bad. And as soon as I think it was Steve Olby, when I saw he said, Josele, how are you? You go, I'm in good hands. However the hell I am, in the best possible hands that there are. And I think it took 40 minutes for them to cut me out of the car. It took a while, and it was painful. I mean, I went in and out of consciousness.
Sure.
The mind is a wonderful thing. When you can't stand the pain anymore, you just pass out.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Wow. So, and it's unfortunate because we were doing very well in the season. I think we were 8th place or 9th place, and we were really looking forward to getting a single-digit number. That was the thing with our team, and it didn't happen. I missed most of the rest of the season.
Yeah.
A lot of therapy and recuperation. But I did come back that year. That was the main thing for me.
The last round, wasn't it? I think
Miami. Yeah. I was able to race at Miami, so that was an issue for me. Mm-hmm.
That's incredible in itself. I just want to say I had no idea that the car had gone up, hit the. I had no idea about what had happened. That was genuinely the first I've heard of it. Wow, that's incredible. But obviously very glad that it wasn't.
Yeah,
Any
that's
worse.
why it looked so terrible when he was down, because half of the car was on the bridge. So when the images that you see, it's just the engine and me and the cockpit. The rest of the car was upstairs. So it looked it was a bad crash.
Yeah, it's a big one. I've just seen a comment actually from Keith Mail again. He's tuned in. Hello again, Keith. He said he's just watched the footage that is there, and he said that he'll admit he could only watch it knowing that the driver's alive. It was not an easy watch. Yes, agree. But obviously, very glad that with the medical crew and everyone.
Absolutely,
the very
best team in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just spoke with James Hinchcliffe a couple of years ago, and he had a similar thing where the suspension went through his leg, and he just said, "Yeah, if it wasn't for the medical crews, he was about 10 minutes away from being game over." So yeah, best medical team in the world, best medical crews out there for sure. Better thing in '86 though, we touched on. Look at the time. We need to move on a little bit, but probably. I guess the highlights of '86, you touched on it at the start, the opportunity to run in free practice in your home Formula One Grand Prix with Brabham. Obviously, you said before that it was the introduction to, it was the super license to the circuit, to the car, to everything. How did it all come about? Did you speak with Mr. Eccleston about it? Or?
Yeah, I did. Actually, he's the one that gave me the opportunity to drive in his car for the super license, because I had no car to take any test of any kind. That was the time when the Grand Prix had returned to Mexico.
Yes.
So the only eligible driver was me. So the promoters here and Bernie were sort of saying, let's get this guy into Formula One somehow, and see where we can fit him. But the first thing is to get him the super license. Right. So let's do a test. And the FIA agreed. Balestre agreed that I could take my 10-lap test in front of the crowd in Mexico City. So it was a great promotion for the Formula One Grand Prix in Mexico. And I was thrilled. I mean, these were turbo cars. And at that time, they had a lot of power and much less lag than the Indy cars, because the turbochargers were smaller. So you could control the lag much better. But I remember very clearly, Bernie Eccleston jumped into the car and turned the knob for the turbocharger pressure way lower. And I'm like, yeah, because he didn't want me to blow up the engine. It was Ricardo Patrese's car.
Okay.
And he had just qualified that car, I don't know, 8th or something like that. So if I blew up the car, they were in trouble for the next day.
Sure.
But I was able to drive it, and it was quite a thrill. It was the first time that I drove a Formula One, and much more nimble in a road course than an IndyCar. And at the time, the 5 fast-speed corners in Mexico City, man, that car is very twitchy. Formula One cars are very, very twitchy in fast corners. I wasn't really quite ready for that. They were shorter than they are today, much shorter.
Yeah.
So and shorter length than the Indy cars. So that's why they were more, difficult to drive in fast speed. But that was a great car. I mean, great transmission, super amount of power, very much. So that was quite a thrill.
Yeah, fantastic.
And I got my super license. So mission accomplished.
Really, yeah. And obviously for us fans, it was a great looking car as well. Loved it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant looking car. I spoke with Derek Warwick a few years ago, and he drove it, and he said it wasn't the best in the corners, but on a straight line, it sort of like took your face off. It was incredible car. No, fantastic. I mean, was there any opportunity to get in for 87? Because this was around the time I spoke with Willie Ribbs as well, and he had tests with Brabham, and he said the main sponsors were Italian with Olivetti, and they wanted Italian drivers. I mean, was that part of the situation for you?
Actually, I ended up with an Italian team, Minardi. I don't know if you remember that team. So I ended up as a third driver with Minardi,
Okay.
and we were trying to fit me in. We weren't sure if I could fit for the next season. So the winter testing, I did quite a bit of testing with Minardi,
Is it Imola?
and when the time came, the sponsor in Mexico didn't come through. So that was a very big blow for me.
Yeah.
I was sitting with Giancarlo Minardi in his desk. He had the contract. He had the pen in his hand, and we called the Mexican
Really?
person that had committed to the money, and he said, not until after the Mexican Grand Prix. So we couldn't sign the deal.
Oh, goodness. I didn't realize it was that close. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
that close. But that's Formula One. You know how that is. It happens very often.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously very, very frustrating, but I mean, yeah, you said, do like, do I remember the Minardi team? I mean, Minardi were. I mean, I used to love all the teams at the back in the 80s. I loved like Osella and Zach Speed and Minardi, and a bit later there was like Eurobrunn and AGS and all those teams. I mean, because they were just there because they loved being there. They were never going to, really do anything, but. It maybe it's rose tinted glasses on my side, but I always look back at it and think, God, it was great having those teams in there. Teams like Minardi, and they've got like a cult following, and it would have been great.
You used to have to qualify.
It was a pre-qualifying, yeah.
Two cars always stayed in the back, and Minardi was always fighting for the spots. So it was not an easy job.
No, not.
What was wonderful for me is Pirelli had only two teams that officially tested for them, Ferrari and Minardi. So I was a third driver. So I got to do a lot of miles for the Pirelli tires, for the Pirelli engineers. Right. And that for me was wonderful. I got to drive. There's a track near Bologna, which is called Santa Monica. It's not a known track, and it's not in the Formula One circuit. But it was one of the tracks the main track that Minardi tested at. So I got to do a lot of laps there with different compounds. So I learned a lot about tires.
Right. Fantastic.
So that was wonderful. Yeah.
Because this was what, 88? I think
it was the beginning of 88. Yeah.
88.
The winter of 88. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, and again, for us fans, I mean, I've always said, like, what the Minardi cars lacked in perhaps the outright speed, they made up for in the beauty of them. They were all fantastic looking cars, weren't they? Even right up to the very end. But no, I mean, it's great that you got the opportunity to, to spend so much time in an F1 car, and there's not too many people that can say they've done that. So that must have been great.
Yeah, it was quite an experience.
Yeah, fantastic. Love to hear that. Just really want to touch very quickly on your last year, just to step back to 87, your last year in IndyCar. I mean, had you planned for it to be your last season in IndyCar, or were you, was it just the way it all happened at the end of the season, I suppose?
It just happened that I got offered to go into Formula One to try and do the race for the Mexican Grand Prix. And I mean, it just matched. And, I took my helmet and I flew to Europe to try and make this happen. And it didn't, but that was just the natural thing that would follow,
Yeah, sure. And I think that the last season that you you did a few bits in IMSA, I saw as well, but was that the last year that you raced kind of full time? Was it a case of, if I can't do F1, it's maybe time to stop, or my
options got very limited? It was stay with Minardi as a third driver for another year, and that was hard work. And although you enjoy driving, it's not. I mean, you want to be racing, not just driving, right? Go back to Indy, try and find a middle of the grid team, because the top teams were filled up, and I was tired, I was burnt out. To go back to the grind, that wasn't what I wanted. A team that either go to Formula One or be able to win something in Indy, not just run. So, it was time to pack it up.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Because at that time, I mean, it's actually just popped up actually from like Simon Steele. Hello again, Simon. He said, was it difficult, kind of retiring at a relatively young age from racing, or was it again just the way it was?
Oh, it was hard and hard as hell.
I'll bet.
You're used to driving, you're used to the adrenaline, you're very high strung. It's really hard to come back to civilian life and be mellow and just, it's very, very difficult. So I had the opportunity to be partners in a Formula 2 team here in Mexico. I was in my office being a desk jockey or whatever you do, and being a businessman, which I didn't know much of that. And a good friend came over and said, I have a team. Why don't you partner up with me? We do Formula 2 in Mexico. Wasn't quite Formula 2, it was Formula K because of the K Chrysler cars. So it was a Mexican design similar to a Formula 3 car with a K Chrysler engine. And I said, yeah, sure, why not? So then I became a part team owner and then a full team owner. And that was quite pleasurable because although I could not drive, and it was not Indy, but it was still a very competitive sport. I was still involved in this adrenaline thing and trying to win races, and we were quite successful. Alan Berg was one of my greatest drivers.
Yeah.
So we won a couple of championships here. That was like me living through my drivers, So I got to teach a little bit of what I had learned to some of my younger drivers. Alan was not the one I needed to teach him anything, but a few of the younger drivers I got to teach. So that was very pleasurable. And although I wasn't driving the car, I was still involved in the business. So that was very good. That was through probably 97 was probably my last year involved in racing.
Okay, so there was a good 10 years in there that you were
Yeah,
still involved with.
7 or 8, and we got 1 year. We got the Formula 3000 cars.
Yes.
Now those were big, powerful, wonderful race cars.
Yeah.
So we got to do that 1 year, and I got to drive one of them. Just in testing, but I got back in one of those cars.
Yeah, fantastic. And you say about that time, I think it was Formula 3000 just across the world, the European, the international, the Mexican. I think I've said it before on these chats. I've spoken to guys that drove them, guys, Mark Blundell and Perry McCarthy and people like that. And I said, were they as terrifying to drive as they were to watch when I was 8 or 9 years old? Because I remember watching Formula One thinking, okay, that's fine. Watching IndyCar, great. I remember watching Formula 3000 and thinking, this is absolutely crazy. they just looked absolutely like crackers. They were fantastic. It was a fantastic era, wasn't it, for Formula 3000? It was a great time.
It was. They were fantastic cars to drive.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And obviously us Brits know F3000 because of Johnny Herbert and what happened with him. But but yeah, what a fantastic era. Just quickly, you mentioned Alan Berg. I've just seen it's just flashed up on my screen. Alan Berg has sent an email. This was about half an hour ago. He said that he had to log off, but he was able to hear the very kind comments that me and you said. Well, the comment that I said about him and your reply. So he did see it. So he's very pleased.
Terrific.
That's great stuff. That's fantastic. Okay, we've done the bit about the racing and the post-racing stuff. One thing I want to touch on before we just get some fun questions at the end. I saw you were invited and raced in, was it 2016, the Indy Legends sort of charity pro-am at Indianapolis. That must have been great to go back to.
Well, 2 years, I think it was 15 and 16 that I was invited to that race. That was wonderful. Just coming back to Indy as a driver, of course, it's a Formula One circuit. It's not the oval.
Yeah.
But still, just going into the racetrack, I get goosebumps every time I go back there. And going there as a driver was quite wonderful. And seeing some of my teammates and other competitors, of course, Alonso Jr., Roberto Guerrero, some of the other drivers that I drove with was wonderful. That was quite an experience.
Fantastic. I didn't realize that you'd driven with Mr. Guerrero. Again, he's been on for a chat in 2022. He came on. What a great guy. What a
No,
lovely man.
absolutely.
The loveliest
Absolutely.
man.
Mhm.
Yeah. Top guy. And he said he was going to try and come over here because the guy who, I think it was the year he had his crash and he suffered his head injury. Someone in the UK, I think, owns that car. And Roberto was going through me. We were trying to arrange for him to come over and take it round a track somewhere. And
Oh.
it hasn't happened yet, but I might have to see if we can make that happen. But yeah, what a lovely chap. Great stuff. Okay, right. We'll always end up with some fun questions. We've run over a little bit longer, as always. It seems to happen. But we always just have some fun questions that I like to run through. First one: did you have a favourite driver when you were growing up? I think we touched on it at the start, but who was your kind of your hero?
Well, Jackie Stewart, Mario Andretti, and Emerson Fittipaldi. Those three, because and of course Pedro Rodriguez, but Pedro had died many years before,
Cool, yes.
so he was somebody that I couldn't see race. But those three, and except for Jackie Stewart, I got to race against Emerson and against Mario. So for me, that was a thrill.
Fantastic. And I did see actually in 81, you did an interview with Jackie Stewart, didn't you? And
I got interviewed by the legend Jackie
Yeah.
Stewart. That for me was a thrill.
that was cool. I
Really?
you could actually see the whole way through the interview. You've got a huge smile on your face.
I mean, come on! I'm with Jackie right in front of me. Jeez, he's
Wow.
paying all his attention was for me. It was amazing.
That's
Amazing.
fantastic. Is there a driver that you particularly admire, like now, of the current crop, whether it be IndyCar or F1 or anyone like that? Is there one?
Well, no doubt, I like very much Lando Norris. I really truly like him. I wish he could start the first lap a little bit better. He's been weak there.
Yeah. So do we. Sorry, Lando. Sorry, I'm in no position to judge. I just want to say I'm.
But we without a doubt, the two rookies, I mean, Kimi Antonelli and Oscar Piastri, they just blow my mind. They're doing very, very well. I mean, Kimi sometimes make a little bit more of a mistake, rookie mistakes, but not much.
Yeah.
But Oscar's been just perfect everywhere. He's very, very mature. So those two, I watch very closely because it's a thrill to watch them race. Oscar, especially. I mean, when he's leading, I'm always expecting for him to get under pressure and make a little mistake, or listen to him on the radio and see if his voice cracks. It doesn't. It's like he's been there forever. Yeah. So those two it's a thrill to watch. Of course, Bortoleto also very good, but
he's doing very well
lately. Quite have the equipment quite yet. Yeah. But that pair is just amazing.
Yeah, I'm like glad you mentioned Bortoleto, because the last 2 or 3 races, especially, he's been very, very, very good. Yeah. In not the best car, as we know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I have just seen a comment pop up. It's a bit late. I think it goes back to to Mexico from Keith Mann. It says, was that Gerhard Berger's first win and the first win for Benetton? Yes, it was. It was. Keith, you are correct. Hit that one up. Okay. Which motorsport series do you follow most closely? Is it F1, IndyCar, a bit of everything? What do you?
I watch pretty much every F1 race because in Mexico that's very popular, and there's a group of ex-Mexican drivers, not international drivers, that invite me to their homes every time there's a Formula One race. Oh, so cool. those I watch every time because that's a great group to watch races with.
Yeah.
As a former driver, sometimes it's very difficult to watch a race with people that think they know about racing, but they don't. And we call it the Checomania, Checo Perez. I mean, he has been just absolutely turned fans from all kinds. So a lot of people are fans of Formula One now, or fans of IndyCar because of Pato Ward, and they think they know, but they don't.
Yeah.
So to watch races with other people, it's a little bit difficult. And this group is former racers. So it's just terrific to watch it with them. So Formula One, I watch absolutely every race. IndyCar, maybe a little bit less than half the races.
Okay.
But Indy 500, absolutely. And the last two races, I was lucky enough to go and watch it live. So that was a thrill with my son. I have a
Lovely.
15-year-old son who doesn't like driving. He's technical. He's a nerd. He's in another world. But he's thrilled to go to Indy because to watch a car go, over 350 kilometers per hour on the he gets he likes that, and he cheers for Pato, so that's terrific. That for me is a thrill to watch him.
That's a great you said that, because I think I've said before on here, I actually got my phone and I didn't try and follow the car as they came past. We were on the outside of turn 4, and I've got some video of me doing this, but I held it in between two poles on the fence and just watched the cars going past. And I showed my friends when I got home, and they just went, "That's absolutely," because you can't even make out the car. It's just a thing.
It's scary. It's scary to watch. I mean, when I was driving, sometimes I went to the different corners to see what the other drivers were doing, but you would see the speed and you'd go, maybe I just want to watch 1 or 2 laps. Not a hell of a lot, because it does scare you to know how fast they go.
Yeah, I'm sure. So when you see it from the outside, it's obviously different from being in the car, but goodness me, yeah, it's incredible. Quick question here from Simon Steele. Hello again, Simon. It says, do you think that Sergio Perez will return to F1 with Cadillac? Or should he?
We can only hope. I mean, only Mario knows. And he's very tight-lipped about it. He's not saying anything.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't know. It would be good, but apparently on the sites they have other very experienced drivers. So I don't know. Yeah. If I was the team owner, I always liked a very young guy, a new guy, talented, and an experienced guy. But maybe Cadillac wants 2 experienced guys because it's their first year. So that's the hope for Checo.
Yeah,
that they take Kimi and him for the first year.
Yeah, we could do this. There's talk of Bottas, and there's loads of others, aren't there? So who knows? Who knows? We shall see. Okay, very quickly. Do you have a favourite car that you've raced and a favourite circuit to race at?
Without a doubt, Elkhart Lake, because I never ran Spa. I really, really wanted to run Spa. I think that would be the thrill of my lifetime, but I couldn't. I was this close. It was raining on a Formula One race, and the main driver for Minardi was Martini. He had a Formula 3000 commitment. So Giancarlo Minardi said, you can step in that seat right now if you get authorized by Bernie Ecclestone and Jean-Marie Ballester. So I went to Bernie Ecclestone's motorhome, and I said, you can have 2 driver changes. So he can step out and then he can step back in. That's only 1 change, not 2. And he said, no, if you step into the car, you are the seat for the whole season. And Minardi had commitments. He couldn't do it. But I tell you what, I was lucky I didn't, because it was raining. And raining in Spa with a car that was not going to qualify, I probably would have ended up in some wall somewhere, because I would have tried harder than you really. But anyway, back to the question. Elkhart Lake, without a doubt. And the route Formula Atlantic, not the mini IndyCar, the Atlantic, the RT3 or RT2, I think it was the model.
Okay.
Those cars, they were very easy to set up, and when you set them up, you didn't drive that car, you were that car. I mean, that thing, you just danced with the car. It was incredible. And that car in Long Beach, in that street circuit, is the thrill of a lifetime.
Wow. Yeah, Long Beach love that circuit. Even now where they've changed it, it's still great, isn't it? But wow.
Yeah. And the Formula Atlantic, I mean, you had way too wide wheels for the amount of horsepower you had. So it was very much a driver's car. It was a beauty to drive the car. And it was easy to set up. You always had a very comfortable car that you belonged to.
Yeah, I just love that line. You don't drive the car, you are the car. I love that.
Yeah.
That's lovely. Love that. Okay, let's have two more. Obviously F1 is the obvious answer to this, but is there a series that you would have loved to have had a go at? Obviously F1, it didn't, so close, it didn't quite happen, but did you ever go down, I don't know, things like the sports cars, the World Endurance Championship, or NASCAR, or Australian Supercar, or anything like that? Was there anything like that you think, oh, I wish I'd tried?
Not really. I tell you what, I had a lot of fun in. Ford hired me to drive the Mickey Thompson series off-road cars, off-road trucks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow.
The mini trucks. Those were a thrill, and I got paid well. And I drove the Baja 1000 a couple of times.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
That as a hobby that I was getting paid to drive was for me a thrill, because it's not high stress and you don't have to be that precise, but it's a very competitive series. So those I could go back to like anytime. That's the kind of racing that is very much fun to do, and it's not that high stress. At least wasn't for me at the time, because I was a comfortable IndyCar driver with a nice salary to go drive off-road cars, and we drove those on the stadium. So it was a lot of people in the stadiums that went crazy for those races. That was very much of a thrill.
Oh, fantastic! I love it. I didn't even know you'd done that. That's fantastic. That's very cool. We like that a lot. Okay, this is the last question. And it's a tough one. I ask it to everyone. Well, it might not be a tough one. I think I probably know the answer as well. But I ask this to everyone. You've shared the track with a lot of drivers. Not a great drivers. I've just got a few that I'm going to name. Take a deep breath here. But in various series and at various points of your career, you've shared the track with guys like Peter Kuhn and Pete Halmer and Ed Pym and Gordon Smiley and Dick Simon, but also guys like Scott Brayton, who's no longer with us, guys like Vern Schuppen, Hurley Haywood and Howdy Holmes, Chip Ganassi, Derek Daly, Harry Lyondike, Bruno Giacomelli, Fabi, Raul Boisel. Get on Raul Boisel. I like him. He's a good guy. Scott Goodyear, the Bettenhausens, Bobby Rahal, and the Andretti's, Sullivan, Rutherford, John Cox, Neva, the Unzers, Mears, Foyt, Fittipaldi, etc., etc. I mean, you've shared the track with some amazing racers. I mean, is there anyone, and I think I know who it's going to be, who kind of sticks out in your mind as being maybe not the best?
Screen froze.
We almost got to the end. My apologies. The internet dropped.
Not a problem.
My apologies for that. It sometimes happens. We'll blame the weather. We are in the UK after all. But yeah, all those incredible guys that you've shared the track with, is there anyone who sort of stands out as being special or different, or just someone who's a bit higher than everyone else in your mind?
At Indianapolis, at that track in particular, I don't think anybody can qualify like Rick Mears. Watching Rick Mears qualifying at the Indy 500 is watching a concert. It's incredible. It's really, really, watching him qualify at Indy, it just, at least me, you say there's just a little tiny things here and there and there and there that I cannot do. And I feel like I'm better than anybody. But there are things there, watching Rick qualify, say, that I take my hat off, that I cannot do. Yeah. And like I said before, Emerson Fittipaldi in the rain in New Jersey, you also say, there's no way he can break this way. It's impossible. He's got 4 pedals and 4 feet, and he's breaking each wheel individually. It's just amazing. There are things that I cannot do. Wow. Those two.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I am glad that you gave Rick Mears a mention, because I mean, with my hard compound hat off, I've always followed Penske, and I've always loved the yellow Pennzoil Penske livery, and Rick Mears is so synonymous with that. And, yeah,
Rick at Indy is incredible to watch. Incredible.
yeah. I've always said he's the one guy that I wish, from my sort of childhood, I wish that he had got into F1 and had a decent car and just see what he could have done, because he was, pretty special, wasn't he? Yeah, Rick Mears and Emerson Fittipaldi. That's a great place to finish, I think. Fantastic. Also, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, we 2 hours. It's flown by, and we've run over. But thank you so much for sparing your time and coming on and having a chat. I'm very, very grateful. It's
been quite a thrill, Rich. Thank you for the invitation. I truly enjoyed it.
No, fantastic. I'm very pleased to hear
Jog
that.
My mind, jog my memory quite a bit. Thank you, Rich.
Hopefully some things you'd forgotten came kind of flashing back. That's nice. And also thank you to everyone who's tuned in for all the comments and questions and everything that has come in. It's been well over 250 of you have tuned in. So thank you very much for sparing your afternoon or evening. Very grateful for your support. We're back next week with a very young, talented driver from the UK. But in the meantime, be happy, stay safe, enjoy the motorsport, and once again, huge thanks to you, Josele. It's been brilliant speaking with you. Thank you.
It was a pleasure.